All right. So, we're going to get in deep. Everyone wants to hear that. Right. So I've done some coverage of essentially the 4 focus characters for the recent Kombat cast and trailer. And the biggest L that a lot of people are having right now, and I'm kind of midway, like, see what I did there? With this, because I can sort of see, again, this goes back to this question I have: is John Tobias involved in Mortal Kombat 1? Right. So I want to show you something. Now, obviously a lot of people are upset because for a variety of reasons. Johnny Cage doesn't have his signature green move when he does shadow type moves. He also doesn't have a fireball. Now, traditional Johnny Cage was originally based off Jean-Claude Van Damme, which they now thankfully have a skin for him coming in, which is awesome. And I often wonder, like I said in this last video, I wonder if part of the contract was him going, okay, you can have my likeness, but no fireball. Now, I'm a massive Van Damme fan. A lot of the mannerisms and stuff that they've included in Cage in MK1 are looking like stuff pulled from Van Damme films. Kicks and then holding them for a pose, and a little bit of that sort of like, yeah, I know I'm good ego and everything like that. And that, no doubt, is the reason why they originally wanted Cage actually to digitize him for Johnny Cage in the original game. Now, as far as his shadow moves go, he's only got one shadow move in Mortal Kombat. And it's his shadow kick, but you'll notice it's not green. It's a shadow. It is a literal shadow, right? And that's the funny part, because it's the only green move, like I said, is his fireball, or his green orb as it was originally called. But it's interesting. It is interesting that, you know, that we would have the original look come back after so long. And of course, like any sort of younger folk out there, like, oh, you know, he's always had green. No, he actually hasn't. This is sort of where I'm conflicted, right? Because, like, I guess it depends on the fallout. I said this as well. You know, they may add in a fireball if they find that people are barely using him. That'd be pretty interesting. And I'd be fully on board. And I said this as well. I'd be fully on board with it just looking like this. Ready? And even if you made it shadowed, right? So it has a shadow look. It's almost like he's almost like throwing like a, I don't know, like a chi ball or something like that. I don't know. And it's like has like a shadow effect. I don't know. Because right now he has no fireball at all. None. Right? And that's really odd. There's no projectile. Yeah, that's probably the better way to put it. No projectile. So Scorpion blocking that nut punch. Right? So his original shadow move was a shadow. Right? It always was. See? Always was. Now, in MK2, then we started getting the green, you know, so it made a little bit more flair. But I sort of, I can see both sides here. This is why it's sort of like, you know, what I did in my video the other day about, if John Tobias is back, does that make a big difference? Yes, it does. It does, because you're actually taking the person that basically made me fall in love with Mortal Kombat in charge of storytelling again. Right? Now, sure, I mean, I could be wrong. He's maybe not involved at all, but it's really strange how some of his storylines that were scrapped are showing up. Big major ones that are like front and center focus for big major characters. That's pretty big. Right? So that's the interesting part. So, going back to the gameplay of this, is this not akin to the original Mortal Kombat in how he is? Just a really super talented martial artist going up against sorcery and ninjas and otherworldly beings and trying to hold his own, and he has no access to an actual fireball. Could it be that, right? He's gone back to his original shadowed type effect. Okay. They brought him right back to being like probably the most grounded Mortal Kombat character. This is where I'm conflicted, because we've been used to Cage a certain way for so long now. And then to have him sort of regress in this manner is interesting. But then they've also capitalized on that by using the star power to go, okay, well, he's a super talented martial artist. He's going beyond the scope of what regular other martial artists are capable of. So they give him the gimmick of star power. It allows him to bypass the mechanic of not being restricted in terms of like multiple like special moves one after the other. But he's still a martial artist. So it's... the more I think about it, and then showing you the footage of MK, like original Mortal Kombat, I hate that. Please change the name, Ed Boon. It's crap, right? Knowing that they've got the Van Damme film skin in, like Van Damme skin in there, it's going to be interesting what the skin is though, where they're pulling it from. Are they pulling his kickboxer one? Probably not. I'm probably going to go with Bloodsport. They're probably going to give him how he would have looked originally in Mortal Kombat, the original game, if they actually managed to get him. Right? Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. So, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, it's a quandary, because I was watching the live chat when I was streaming the other day. Watching the Kombat cast. You know, and like I said in the breakdown video, they obviously had to give him a gimmick to replace the fireball. They had to give him something that would people go, okay, this is a fair trade-off. I can get behind this. Okay? I can get behind that. Right? It's interesting. Again, like gameplay statistics, they might find that barely anyone's using him, maybe. You know, or they might bring in a fireball later on and go, you know what, let's just give him a straight. If you give him the one from Mortal Kombat 1, I'd be 100% sold on Cage in this game. And he might be fine the way he is, right? But it is a fantasy game, right? So while they've pulled him right back into a grounded reality of who the character is, not having access to magic or spells and all that sort of stuff, like other characters like Liu Kang and Kung Lao have, because of their connections and whatnot, knowing what is really going on in the world. Cage didn't know that. Cage was literally just Hollywood movie star, best martial artist around, but, you know, started getting the cringe and then whatever. So I can see perspectives here. I'm just like I said, like, I think people are going to miss the fireball. It just has to be simple. Just do it like an MK1. Just, you know, forward. Don't even have to have the green stuff. The shadow stuff actually doesn't bother me, the color, because again, this is how he was. And I just showed that. Right? Has Johnny Cage returned to his original roots? It'd be really interesting. Because I don't talk about any of this in the Kombat cast, there's about as much energy in that as like sitting on a cold toilet seat. It's ridiculous. So, but anyway guys, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think. I'll catch you next time. See ya.